What's up everybody, Eric here at Black Flag Arms. Today we're going to show and tell you the proper way to submit a Form 1 to the ATF eForms website in order to properly change the classification of your firearm from a pistol to a rifle if you so desire. I do want to preface this and say that this is going to be the traditional process for the $200 tax paid Form 1. If you're doing the amnesty, most of this information translates over. There are a couple of different steps that we may talk about in the future. First thing you're going to do, if you haven't already, is create your eForms account. That's pretty simple. If you have any questions on that, let us know. We'll get you going with that one. Once you've logged in to your eForms account, you'll come to this home screen here, and you'll see several different options. You're going to move up, and you're going to click on ATF Form 1. Now you'll get a pop-up here. This is talking about the amnesty thing. We're just going to go ahead and continue with our standard eForms, since that's what we're doing today. You will have to decide how you want to file that application. If you're doing it as an individual, that means it's just you. If you're doing it as an NFA trust, that's a different process. Today we're going to keep it simple. We're going to go individual. So I'm going to click individual right here and move on to next. Gives us some instructions, how to use the form, things like that. Make sure that you're filling it out properly just so there's no confusion, so they don't send it back. Obviously, if you get it right the first time, it's going to be pretty quick and easy. If you have any mistakes and they kick it back, you have to start the whole thing over again. Well, it's not a big deal, it's just kind of a pain because then you got to do it again, you got to wait longer. Nobody likes waiting, stuff like that. Go ahead and click next right here. Now it's asking the type of application. You can see here it is a tax-paid $200 application. That's the fee for NFA stuff. It's been that way since 1936. Probably not going to change anytime soon. And thankfully that has not kept up with inflation because that would be a big bummer. Click next right here. You will see that as an individual, right up on the top, this is us filing. We'll have name, title. Title is typically going to be owner, since you are the owner of the firearm. Now don't freak out, this is all caps. That's the way that the website automatically enters that text. Not a big issue there. We're gonna come through, make sure your address, phone number, and email information is all correct, so you've got the proper contact info for you. As we're coming down, we're gonna have a whole bunch of questions here. These are going to be very similar to the questions you'll see on your standard Form 4473 when you're doing a background check for a firearm purchase. They are worded a little bit differently, so just make sure you check those answers here. I've done these a few times, so I know that the answers to these questions, at least for me personally, are all going to be no. So we'll just kind of breeze through here, make it quick and easy. And on the bottom it asks for citizenship. I am a US citizen. I was born here in the United States. Pretty simple. Going to go ahead and click next. So if we look at the screen, we'll see here in the status, there's a little red triangle with an exclamation point, which means there are errors that need to be corrected. And what that is just showing, if you look over here, it's missing a couple bits of information. So if we scroll all the way over, under actions, we can click edit line item. We'll pop in here, just make a couple of changes. All right, first thing we want to do is add a photo of ourselves. I happen to have a lovely photo here for you all to enjoy. This part's always a little slow, it takes it 15 or 20 seconds for whatever reason. Hey, that's not too bad. Now you do have the option with these if you have an EFT file to upload that. An EFT is going to be the file for your electronic fingerprint cards. That's not something that we do here in this shop. There are online services that you can do where you send in fingerprint cards, they create that file and email it to you. If you want to go that route, that's an external thing to do. If you're only planning on doing one of these, we do the fingerprinting here at the shop, so it's pretty quick and easy. If you're thinking you might do a bunch of them, it might not be a bad idea. I believe it's $50 to $60 is what most of these services online are charging to get those EFT files. That way you've already got it. You just upload it, save yourself a little bit of time. Not a huge deal there. Come on down, obviously social security number is optional, just like it is on your 4473. If you have a very common name, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have, just because that helps avoid any kind of misidentification. Make sure that they know who you are. Obviously we've got some address here. I'm gonna punch in a birth date. This is all just random information, so you guys obviously punch in your information. Don't try to do mine. That won't do you much good. We go 01011991. Country of birth is United States of America. Choose what's applicable to you, of course. I'm just gonna say born in Oregon. Down here, state of residence is currently Oregon. Sex, you've got a couple of options. Ethnicity, now this is a two-part question, just like your 4473, so make sure you pay attention and get all your answers here, otherwise it's just gonna get weird at you. Now a UPIN, it's pretty uncommon, just like on your Form 4473. If you had one, you'd know what that was, so I'm not gonna worry about that one. Once you've got all of our information that we need, we will go ahead and click Save and Close right there. Now if we scroll back over, our little triangle and exclamation point has disappeared, meaning that this has sufficient information to move on to the next step. I'm gonna go ahead and click Next here, let this think. It's asking for a chief law enforcement agency. Now you've got a couple of options. You can either go all the way to the state for Ellen Rosenbaum, or most people will do their local sheriff, who's gonna be obviously the Jackson County Sheriff. So we'll put that in here. Jackson County Sheriff. That is our good buddy Nathan Sickler, who is the sheriff. United States address. This will all be applicable to you, of course, depending on where you're at. If you're up further north, wherever you're at. Crater Lake Highway, 97502. It should pick your state, give you a list of cities to choose from. Double check, make sure that info is correct. And we'll go ahead and hit next and move on to the next line. Now, line item, that's the firearm that we're doing this application for. I've got over here a firearm of mine. It's an Aero Precision M4E1 build that I've had for a while, and I want to make sure I'm doing the proper way. So we're going to go ahead and punch this in here. When you come into this screen, you'll see Add Firearm here, and you get this pop-up. We'll start by searching for the manufacturer. We've got Aero Precision. Actually, we're going to double check our lower because we want to make sure we get that 100% correct. Aero Precision LLC is what is on there. We'll click Verify Manufacturer. Okay, that's all good there. Select manufacturer country, United States. It'll give you your options there if you were doing something made out of the country. B&T will give you Switzerland, HK will give you Germany as an option. Just make sure you're matching what's on the firearm. Keep it simple and easy, make sure there are no confusion, no mistakes there. Gonna go ahead and click Next. We will select our product type. Since we are manufacturing this into a short-barreled rifle, we'll select that. Model, make sure you double check because a lot of these models would have been submitted by other users. So double check, make sure it matches your gun exactly, because occasionally you get one that's just a little bit wacky. We want to make sure that there's no confusion here. This is an M4E1 according to my lower receiver. We're going to go ahead and click that. Caliber, this is in 5.56. Unit of measure, since we're telling what kind of firearm it is, we're going to do caliber on here. Length of barrel on here, we're going to go ahead and measure that. Should be right about 13 inches. 13 inches, which is great. Overall length, this will be from the end of your threads to the end of your buffer tube if you're using an AR platform. If it's something else that does not need a buffer tube to function, it's going to be to the back end of the firearm without your brace attached. So we're going to measure this across about here in my threads. I'm seeing about 27.5 inches. Now this measurement does not have to be exact to the 1,000th of an inch. Get within about 1/2 an inch and you should be fine. As a general rule of thumb for the AR platform, outside of the length of your barrel, your upper receiver and your buffer tube at about 14.5 to 15 inches. So you can kind of go from there. At 10.5, usually you're going to be about 25 inches overall length. Makes it pretty easy for you. All right, so description, we're adding just a quick one-sentence description of what we're manufacturing. So in here, I will put Aero Precision M4E1 short-barreled rifle. Just like that, super simple. The next box says to state why we intend to make this firearm. There's kind of a magic line of words. The typically accepted phrase is investment and all other lawful purposes. All right, so once you've got those all in there, this gives you a couple of things. Single caliber, just a couple of quick tips on how to get that stuff properly. We're gonna go ahead and hit next. Electronic documents, if you want to upload photos, you can. Some people just do the lower receiver, some people do the entire thing. That's not something I've done in the past. It has been an issue. I believe that is the biggest differentiation between the tax stamp paid and the amnesty filing as far as that short barrel rifle stuff goes. We're gonna go ahead and hit finish here because we've got all of our information. Again, we can scroll over, double check, make sure our barrel length, overall length, serial number, model number, all that kind of stuff matches. And we'll hit next. Electronic documents, if you were filing as a trust, this is where you would upload a copy of your trust. A couple pages back where we did the information for myself as an individual, that's where you would upload your responsible person form. That's a different thing we'll get to on another video at some point. Since we're not doing any kind of electronic forms here, this is being done as a trust, we're doing this as an example for an individual. We're just gonna go ahead and scroll on down and click next. One last time, we're gonna make sure all of our information here is correct. name, address, email, phone number, date of birth, all of our yes and no questions, make sure we're not a felon, any of those kinds of things. We'll double check those. We've got all of our info for the chief law enforcement officer. That's all correct. Firearm info is correct. We're gonna verify one last time. Click next. Now, our last certification, we're almost at the end here. This is where it gets easy, thankfully. Gonna make sure that when we click this box, we're saying that everything that we have put in for this application is true and correct. We're not lying on federal forms. That's a big no-no. We all know that. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna click this, at which point you will click pay. This redirects you to a payment gate. You're gonna punch in your credit card information, pretty straightforward. Punch that in, hit pay. Once that's done, this window will close, take you right back to this window here, at which point we hit continue. You're then going to select that you're not a robot. You'll get a CAPTCHA. Make sure you select those things to show that you're not a robot. And then the last thing you're going to do is punch in your 4-digit PIN. That's the PIN that you created when you set up your eForms account. That will make sure that you're certifying the form, that you're the one submitting it. That gets everything processed, at which point you'll get a pop-up window that says your form has been submitted. And shortly after that, you'll get an email from the ATF eForms website showing a copy of the form that was submitted. It'll also have a cover letter. The last thing you're gonna need to do is print that cover letter and mail that in with your fingerprint cards if you are not sending them electronically. Once you've got that cover letter, you're welcome to visit your local law enforcement office. If they do fingerprinting for you, you can visit a local gun store if they do fingerprints. We do them here for you. It's pretty quick and easy. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes. You've got 10 business days from the date of submission till those fingerprints are required to be in hand by the ATF. So as long as you're able to send those in within a couple of days, you should be good there. Once you've sent those off, the last thing to do is wait. I know before everything changed with the pistol braces, from what I was hearing from people submitting Form 1s, average turnaround time was right around 4 to 5 weeks. Right now, I think it's creeping up to about 6 or 7, so it may get a little more, just depending on how many people are submitting those forms. But that's it. Like I said, it's not too bad. Once you've gone through it, it should only take you about 5 or 10 minutes, pretty straightforward. If at any point you have questions or troubles, feel free to give us a call or come on by and we'll get you all taken care of. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you later.